In our lifetime, we absorb facts, information, and skills. We get our theoretical and practical understanding through education and experience. It's called knowledge. Welcome to television's longest-running high school quiz show, Knowledge Bowl. Let's join two of our 16 competing Northeast Michigan high schools and our host, Astrid Fitzpatrick, for today's match.
Hello and welcome to Knowledge Bowl, Michigan's longest-running quiz show. I'm your host, Astrid Fitzpatrick. Today our game is between Alpena and Rogers City, and we'll start by introducing our teams, beginning with Alpena, starting with their captain.
Sarah McMaster, senior.
Angela Salicata, junior.
Michelle McClendon, senior.
Swasti Shri, sophomore.
And they're joined by their coach, Laura Coleman. And our team from Rogers City, starting with their captain.
I'm Bailey Bunnick, senior.
Aaron Rommel, senior.
Austin Collerate, junior.
Alex Mokamishak, junior.
And they're joined by their coach, Dave Noack. I'd also like to thank our judges today, Matthew Fitzpatrick and Joey Gerskowiak, for being here today. Our first round is the toss-up round, but before we start that, here are the rules.
Round 1 is a toss-up format. A question will be asked, and the first competitor to ring in has the opportunity to answer the question. If a correct answer is given, the team is awarded 10 points. No consulting is allowed. If the answer is incorrect, then the question goes to the opposing team to answer.
We'll begin with our first question. Make the best quality good possible at the lowest cost possible, paying the highest wages possible. This was the motto of what man? Angela?
Henry Ford.
That's correct. Through what process must individuals pass in order to serve as a United States cabinet member? Angela?
A presidential nomination and Senate approval.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City? Austin?
A presidential nomination and a House, a Congress approval.
Judges? All right, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. The answer we were looking for is confirmation. What will be the characteristic of the logarithm of 12,600? Angela?
Product.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City? And the correct answer was 4. What ancient empire that reached its greatest extent around 500 BC had the following borders? Arabia, India, Macedonia, the Caspian Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Arabian Sea. Sarah?
The Ottoman Empire.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City? Aaron?
Alexander's Empire.
Sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was Persia. What characteristic of gene traits can be described as complete, conditioned, alternating, delaying, shifting, or sex-influenced? And the correct answer was dominance. In theoretical physics, it is an object which absorbs all the electromagnetic radiation which falls on it. In practice, no perfect one exists, though a closed box admitting radiation only through a small hole is a good approximation. What is this physics concept? Angela?
Entropy.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City? And the correct answer was black body. After the crimes of Joseph Stalin were exposed by his successors, the Soviet city of Stalingrad was renamed what? Alex?
St. Petersburg.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Angela?
Volgograd.
That's correct. By what other name was Canada called before 1867? Angela?
British North America.
That's correct. Name the Franciscan superior of the missions of Lower California who was encouraged by Spain to establish missions in Upper California during the late 18th century. Angela?
Cabeza de Vaca.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City? The correct answer was Junipero Serra. In this early work of detective fiction, William Legrand of Sullivan's Island, South Carolina, uses his skill at deciphering cryptic clues to discover Captain Kidd's treasure. Identify this work by Edgar Allan Poe. And the correct answer was The Gold Bug. He negotiated with the Native Americans to make the famous 1676 purchase of Manhattan Island. Who was he? Angela?
William Penn.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? And the correct answer was Peter Minuit. What president wrote The Wilderness Hunter? Aaron?
Theodore Roosevelt.
That's correct. A man makes an investment of 8% interest compounded annually. At the end of the first year, he has $783 in his account. How much did he invest originally? And the correct answer was $725. Paolo and Francesca de Rimini were the guilty lovers immortalized by what author in what work? Okay, and the correct answer was Divine Comedy by Dante. What territory was carved from Washington, Utah, Dakota, and Nebraska territories? Angela?
The Northwest Territories.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? And the correct answer was Idaho. In the 1963 Supreme Court case of Gideon versus Wainwright, the courts held that states must provide free legal counsel for any person accused of a felony who is without funds. When the High Court took on the case, it appointed a Washington, D.C. attorney who was later appointed to the Supreme Court and still later resigned. Who was that? Angela?
William Rehnquist.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? The correct answer was Abe Fortas. In the pole vault, during the run toward the bar, the vaulter should carry the pole with the tip about waist high, knee high, hip high, shoulder high, or head high. Angela?
Shoulder high.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Aaron?
Waist high.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was head high. And that's all the time we have for our first round. We'll be right back with some updated scores. Welcome back. So far we have Alpena with a score of 30 and Roger City closely behind with a score of 10. Our next round is the bonus round, but before we start that, here are the rules.
This is the bonus round. It consists of toss-up questions, as in round 1. However, this is the twist. The team answering correctly then gets 4 bonus questions. For each question answered correctly, a series of points will be awarded. Team members can consult, but only the team captain can answer the question. After an incorrect answer, the toss-up portion begins again for both teams.
All right, let's get started. Find the solutions for x in the equation 6x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. And the correct answers were x equals 1 over 2 and negative 1 over 3. Name the world's largest art museum which purchased Van Gogh's irises in 1990. It is located in Malibu, California. And the correct answer was the J. Paul Getty Museum. In computer programming, what name is given to a word that may not be used by the programmer in any way other than for its specific intended purpose? Angela?
String.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Bailey?
Syntax.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. The correct answer was reserved word. The Cyrillic alphabet used in the Russian language was borrowed from what earlier culture? Angela?
Ancient Greek.
I'm
Greek.
sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Aaron?
Persian.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was Byzantine. King Lear had 3 daughters. Which one of them refused to resort to tactics of flattery in order to gain an inheritance from the vain father? Angela?
Lavinia.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? And the correct answer was Cordelia. Give the derivative of 12x cubed. Sarah?
24x.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City?
$36x.
Sorry, that's incorrect. The correct answer was 36x squared. One section of a platform promised by a candidate or a party is referred to as what? Angela?
Stance.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Aaron?
Position.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was plank. The Mississippi and the Missouri are the 2 longest rivers in the United States. They meet in the state of Missouri. What is the only other state that borders both rivers? And the correct answer was Iowa. Which U.S. president said, "I hate war as only a soldier who has lived it can, one who has seen its brutality, its futility, its stupidity"? Michelle?
George Washington.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Aaron?
Theodore Roosevelt.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was Dwight D. Eisenhower. What exactly was overdone by Mistress Overdone in Shakespeare's Measure for Measure? Angela?
The food.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? And the correct answer was marriage, because she was married. She had 9 husbands. Which word for the location in ancient Greek theaters between audience and stage once meant dancing place? Bailey?
The pit.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Alpena? Angela?
The amphitheater.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was orchestra. Okay. All 4 of these words use the same letters the same number of times, but in different arrangements. Identify all 4 words. A, sends payment. B, bishop's headdresses. C, earns or deserves. And D, a title of respect. The correct answers were remits, miters, merits, and mister. Give me both the name and the occupation of the character in Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream who was turned into a donkey. Angela?
It was an actor or a jester.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Aaron?
Thomas Bottom, cobbler.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. It was Bottom, who's the weaver. What characteristic is defined as the continued emission of light rays from certain minerals after their exposure to ultraviolet light? Michelle?
Fluorescence.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Austin?
Luminescence.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was phosphorescence. Phosphorescence. What name is given to lymphocytes that first pass through the thymus gland? Sarah?
T cells.
That's correct. Okay, and is this spelling? Spell the plural of potato.
Potatos.
That's correct. Define and spell vigilant.
It means to be like aware or super aware, and it's VIGILANT.
That's correct. Spell the word a German says when someone sneezes.
Oh, how do you spell that?
my God.
Swasti. Gesundteit.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. It was Gesundheit, but it's Gesundheit. Okay. Who was the U.S. Secretary of State both in the Kennedy and Johnson administrations, 1961 to 1969? Angela?
Adlai Stevenson.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? And the correct answer was Dean Rusk. Change 31.25% to a common fraction. And the correct answer was 5/16. And that's all the time we have for our second round. We'll be right back with some updated scores. Okay, welcome back. So far we've got Alpena with a score of 55 and Rogers City with a score of 10. Our next round is the 60-second round, but before we start that, here are the rules.
This is our 60-second round. The team with the lowest score selects from one of the 4 categories of 10 questions. The team that has 60 seconds to answer as many questions as possible. Each correct answer is worth 10 points. Any missed questions will then be answered by the opposing team. An additional 20-point bonus is awarded for answering all 10 questions correctly.
And we're starting with Rogers City, who's chosen the category fill in the blank. Absolute blank is the term for the amount of moisture in the air.
Humidity.
That's correct. John 1:29 calls Jesus the blank of God, which taketh away the sin of the world.
Lamb.
That's correct. Otitis externa, an infection, is commonly called swimmer's blank.
Rash.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Thomas Malthus's famous work is entitled An Essay on the Principles of Blank.
Man.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. In 477 BC, Polycrates found a treasure after the Delphi oracle told him to leave no stone blank.
Unturned.
That's correct. You'll often find a piece of furniture called an end blank next to a sofa.
Table.
That's correct. Complete the following description of log rolling offered by Simon Cameron, Abe Lincoln's first Secretary of State. You blank my back and I'll blank yours.
Scratch.
That's correct. Okay, and Alpena. Otitis externa, an infection, is commonly called swimmer's blank.
I have itch. Swimmer's itch.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Thomas Malthus's most famous work is entitled An Essay on the Principles of Blank.
Life.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. And we'll go to Alpena, that has chosen the category analogies. Zeus is to Hera as Odin is to...
Freya.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Puccini is to operas as Balanchine is to...
Pass.
Radius is to diameter as blank is to fathom.
Depth.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Reagan is to Granada as Bush Sr. is to...
Persian Gulf.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Reagan is to Bush Sr. as Bush Sr. is to...
Clinton.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. New York is to Times Square as Beijing is to what?
Tiananmen Square.
That's correct. Continuous is to analog as discontinuous is to what?
Intermittent.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Books are to libraries as weapons are to... Okay. And back to Rogers City. Zeus is to Hera as Odin is to...
Pass.
Okay. Puccini is to operas as Balanchine is to...
Plays.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Radius is to diameter as blank is to fathom.
Not.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Reagan is to Granada as Bush Sr. is to...
Pass.
Okay. And Reagan is to Bush Sr. as Bush Sr. is to...
Pass.
Great. And continuous is to analog, as discontinuous is to what?
Stereo.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. And that's all we have for our third round. We'll be right back with some updated scores. All right, welcome back. So far, I've got Alpena with a score of 65 and Rogers City very closely behind with a score of 60. Our last round is the toss-up round, just like the first round, so we'll just get started with that. Which of the following composers wrote fewer than 9 symphonies? Brahms, Beethoven, Dvorak, Mahler, or Shostakovich? Bailey.
Brahm.
That's correct. It lost much of its seacoast in the 1879 War of the Pacific, and as late as 1929 still claimed the port city of Africa. Name this now landlocked nation. Angela.
Swaziland.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City. Aaron.
Congo, or Democratic
sorry.
Republic.
Sorry, that's incorrect. The correct answer was Bolivia. On the standard keyboard, name the home row. Bailey?
Is it like the letters you want?
Yeah.
Okay, QWER. No, that's not right. I don't know.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Alpena? Michelle?
A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, semicolon?
All right, sorry, that's incorrect. The answer we're looking for was ASDFJKL. Okay. Benjamin O. Davis Sr. and Benjamin O. Davis Jr. were African Americans who made important contributions in what field? Aaron?
Psychology.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Michelle?
Astronomy?
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. The correct answer was the military. A 17th century Englishman and an 18th century Swede independently developed our modern understanding of genus and species. Carl Linnaeus, the 18th century Swede, wrote Species Planetarium, named a 17th century Englishman who wrote Historia Planetarium. Aaron?
Francis Bacon.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Alpena? Angela?
Charles Darwin.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was John Ray. What rational number is represented by 0.0625? And the correct answer was 1/16. If an algebraic equation contains expressions involving only numbers, then it is an arithmetic equation and is either true or false. What is the name for an equation containing a letter that stands for an unknown number? Bailey?
Quadratic.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Alpena? Angela?
Algebraic equation.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Correct answer was conditional. This subatomic particle carries the weak nuclear force, one of the 4 basic forces of nature. It's named for a letter of the alphabet. What is it? Angela?
Quark.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City? The correct answer was a Z particle. Mystery plays, which dramatize stories from the Old and New Testaments, were popular in England between 14th and 16th centuries. What local groups produced and acted in the plays? Angela?
Theater troops.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City? Aaron?
Churches.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer was trade guilds. Oklahoma became the 46th state while Theodore Roosevelt was president. Name any 3 of the 4 United States territories at the end of his presidency. Angela?
Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, the Philippines.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Rogers City? Aaron?
Puerto Rico, Cuba, U.S. Virgin Islands.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. The answers we were looking for were Alaska, Arizona, Hawaii, or New Mexico. Always do right, he wrote. This will gratify some people and astonish the rest. Name him. Aaron?
Mark Twain.
That's correct. In which state are the engines for the rockets propelling the shuttle into space tested? Angela?
Texas.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Aaron?
Florida.
I'm sorry, that's also incorrect. Correct answer is Mississippi. In nerve transmission, the permeability of the cell membrane changes to allow ions to flow freely, thus reversing the charge of the nerve. Ions of what two elements are involved in this flow? Sarah?
Sodium and potassium.
That's correct. What's the difference between an aquaplane and a hydroplane? Angela?
One divides water from other water, and the other one divides water from land.
Judges? Okay, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Aaron?
One travels on water, one travels below water.
Judges? Okay, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. The answer we were looking for is an aquaplane is a platform towed by a speedboat. Hydroplane is an airplane that can take off land and water. Within 10 years either way, when did La Salle find the mouth of the Mississippi River? Aaron?
1580.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Alpena? Michelle?
1610.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. The correct answer was 1682. The theory that all things are made up of small particles that cannot be further divided is called what? Angela?
Atomic theory?
Judges?
Atom theory?
Okay, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Roger City? Aaron?
Atomism.
That's correct. And that's all we have for our final round. We'll be right back with the final scores. All right, welcome back. Our final scores are Alpena with 75 and Roger City with 90. So congratulations to our winners today from Roger City. Join us next week when we'll have Tawas versus Hillman. And I'll leave you with a quote from Carl Jung: "Knowledge lies not in truth alone, but in error also." So don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's why they put the lily erasers on pencils. Have a nice day.